I was standing behind the counter at Luxe Threads, the fanciest boutique in downtown Manhattan, folding a silk blouse that probably cost more than my monthly rent. It was just another exhausting shift, my feet aching from the 12-hour day, my mind racing about how I'd pay the electric bill that's 2 weeks overdue. I'm Brianna Klein, 28 years old, a single mom to my 5-year-old daughter, Lily, and every day feels like a grind just to keep us afloat in this expensive city. The wealthy customers come in, flashing their credit cards like weapons, and I smile through it all because losing this job isn't an option. But that afternoon, everything shattered when Alessandra Voss stormed in like she owned the place, which, in her world, she practically did. Welcome to Melina's Stories. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you, right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. She was the queen of the fashion scene, CEO of Voss Couture, always in the tabloids for her lavish parties and cutthroat business deals. Her platinum hair was perfectly styled, her designer suit screaming money, and she had this air about her that made everyone else feel small. She snatched a couture dress from the rack, one of those limited edition pieces worth thousands, and thrust it at me without even looking up from her phone. "Wrap this up and make it quick. I don't have time for incompetence," she snapped, her voice sharp like a knife. I nodded politely, my hands trembling a bit from fatigue as I reached for the tissue paper. That's when it happened. The dress slipped just a fraction because the hanger caught on the counter edge. It didn't tear or anything, just a minor fumble. But Alessandra's eyes widened like I'd committed murder. "You idiot! Do you have any idea what that costs? That's a one-of-a-kind Voss original, and you've probably ruined it with your clumsy hands," she yelled, her face turning red. Before I could apologize or explain, her hand flew out, slapping me hard across the cheek. The sting exploded on my skin, hot and immediate, and I staggered back, my vision blurring for a second. Customers gasped, a few pulling out their phones, but no one stepped in. My cheek burned, tears welling up not just from the pain, but from the sheer humiliation of it all. Being treated like dirt in front of strangers, my dignity stripped away in an instant. "How dare you touch my designs like that? You're nothing but a low-rent clerk who doesn't belong." "Here," Alessandra hissed, her lips curled in disgust. I stood there stunned, my heart pounding in my chest, the metallic taste of blood in my mouth from where my lips split. Lily's face flashed in my mind. How would I explain this to her? How could I go home with a red mark on my face and pretend everything was okay? The daily grind of skipped meals to afford her school supplies, the endless overtime to cover rent, it all crashed down on me harder than that slap. I wanted to scream back, to tell her she had no right, but fear choked me. Fear of losing my job, of being blacklisted in this tight-knit industry where people like her held all the power. Alessandra wasn't done. She leaned in closer, her perfume overwhelming, and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear. "People like you should stick to discount stores. You're filthy and you reek of desperation." The words cut deeper than the slap, echoing the contempt I'd felt from entitled shoppers before. But never this raw, never this public. My boss, Mr. Harlan, rushed over from the back room, his face pale as he saw the scene. "Ms. Voss, I am so sorry." "Brianna, what happened here?" he asked, but his tone already sided with her, like I was the problem. "I demand you fire this girl right now," Alessandra said, crossing her arms, her diamond rings glinting under the store lights. "If you don't, I'll make sure every influencer and client I know boycotts this place. Your reputation will be in ruins by morning." Mr. Harlan glanced at me apologetically, but nodded. "Brianna, go to the back. We'll discuss this later." I felt my world tilt, the pressure of bills and Lily's needs crushing me further. How could one moment like this threaten everything I'd scraped together? As I walked to the employee lounge, my cheek throbbing, whispers followed me. "Did you see that? She just slapped her," one customer murmured. Another replied, "Yeah, but that's Alessandra Voss. She can get away with anything." I sank into a chair, pulling out my phone to text my babysitter that I'd be late again, my fingers shaking. The injustice burned inside me, mixing with the exhaustion from years of being overlooked and undervalued. I'd endured rude comments, long hours without breaks, even harassment from drunk clients at events, all to provide for Lily. But this was the breaking point. The raw exposure of how the rich trample on people like me without consequence. I wiped away a tear, staring at the security camera blinking in the corner. If only it had caught everything. Maybe then someone would believe me. But who was I kidding? People like Alessandra always won. Still, as the pain pulsed on my face, a spark of anger ignited deep down, something I'd suppressed for too long. I couldn't let this slide, not anymore. I sat in the employee lounge, my cheek still throbbing from Alessandra's slap, pressing a cold compress against it that I'd grabbed from the first aid kit. The room was tiny, cluttered with staff lockers and a coffee machine that always smelled like burnt grounds. A far cry from the glamorous front of the store where everything sparkled under crystal. Chandeliers. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably the babysitter checking if I'd be home soon, but I ignored it. My mind spinning with what just happened. How could she hit me like that and walk away? I replayed the moment in my head, her hand connecting with my face, the sharp crack echoing in the boutique, and the way customers just stood there, some filming but none helping. I felt a wave of nausea rise up, not just from the pain, but from the fear that this could end my job. The only thing keeping Lily and me from the streets. The door swung open and Mr. Harlan stepped in, his face flushed and tie loosened like he'd been running damage control. He was in his 50s, always trying to act like he was one of the elite. But I knew he was just as scared of big clients like Alessandra as I was. "Brianna, what the hell happened out there?" he asked, closing the door behind him and leaning against it, his voice low but urgent. I looked up, my eyes stinging with unshed tears, and set the compress down on the table. "She slapped me, Mr. Harlan. I barely touched the dress. It was an accident, and she just lost it. Called me an idiot and hit me right in front of everyone." My words came out shaky, but I forced myself to stay calm, knowing hysterics wouldn't help. I'd worked here for 3 years, putting up with everything from rude returns to inventory counts until midnight, all to make sure Lily had food on the table and a roof over her head. Losing this now would mean scrambling for another retail gig, probably minimum wage, and explaining to my little girl why we might have to move in with my sister again. Mr. Harlan sighed, rubbing his forehead like this was my fault. "Miss, Voss is one of our top clients, Brianna. She spends thousands here every month, and her endorsements bring in influencers. You know how this industry works, word gets around fast." He paced a little, his shoes clicking on the linoleum floor. "She's out there right now demanding I fire you on the spot. Says if I don't, she'll pull all her business and tell her network to boycott us. We can't afford that kind of hit." My stomach dropped, a cold dread spreading through me as I stood up, my hands clenching at my sides. Fire me? For what? She assaulted me. There are witnesses, and the security cameras caught it all. You can't just let her get away with this. I could hear the desperation in my voice, picturing the stack of bills on my kitchen counter. Rent due in a week, Lily's daycare payment, the groceries we'd been stretching thin. This job paid just enough to cover basics. With health insurance, that meant I didn't have to worry about doctor visits for my daughters. Asthma. Without it, we'd be back to food stamps and uncertainty. The kind that kept me up at night worrying if I was failing as a mom. He shook his head, avoiding my eyes as he pulled out his phone, probably checking emails or something to stall. "Look, Brianna, you're a good employee, but business is business. Alessandra Voss isn't just rich, she's connected. She could ruin our reputation with one post on her social media. I've seen it happen to other stores." His tone was apologetic, but it felt hollow, like he was already deciding to side with her to save his own skin. I remembered how he'd fawned over her before, comping her accessories and laughing at her snide jokes about the help like me. "Please, Mr. Harlan," I said, stepping closer, my voice cracking a bit. "I've got a daughter at home. Lily's only 5, and I'm all she's got. If I lose this job, we're in real trouble. Can't you at least review the footage? It shows she hit me first unprovoked." I gestured toward the door, hoping he'd see reason. But deep down, I knew the power imbalance was stacked against me. People like Alessandra threw their weight around because they could, treating us like disposable trash while they lived in their penthouses, never worrying about a single bill. He pocketed his phone and crossed his arms, his expression hardening. "I'll review it, but for now, I need you to go home. Consider this a suspension until I sort this out. No pay for today, and we'll talk tomorrow." Suspension? The word hit me like another slap, my mind racing to calculate how I'd cover the lost wages. "But that's not fair," I protested. "She's the one who should be banned from the store, not me getting punished." Mr. Harlan opened the door, signaling the conversation was over. "Just go, Brianna. Don't make this worse. I'll handle Ms. Voss." As I grabbed my bag and coat, I heard her voice from the front, loud and demanding, complaining to another customer about incompetent staff ruining her day. It boiled my blood, the way she acted like nothing happened, while I was the one paying the price. I slipped out the back exit to avoid the stairs, the cool evening air hitting my face as I walked to the subway. My phone finally buzzed again and I checked it. Yep, the babysitter asking about dinner plans for Lily. I texted back that I'd be home soon, but inside, frustration mounted like a storm. How could my boss side with her so easily? It wasn't just about the slap anymore, it was the whole system, where money talked and people like me got silenced. I boarded the train, squeezing into a crowded car, my cheeks still red and sore, drawing curious glances from strangers. One woman even asked if I was okay, but I just nodded, too choked up to explain. By the time I got home to our cramped apartment in Queens, the sun was setting, casting long shadows through the thin curtains. Lily ran up to me, her small arms wrapping around my legs. "Mommy, you're home early," she said, her eyes bright and innocent. I forced a smile, kneeling down to hug her, but the pain in my cheek made me wince. "Yeah, sweetie, work let me out a bit sooner today." The babysitter, Mrs. Gomez from next door, gave me a knowing look as she gathered her things. "Rough day?" she asked quietly. "You have no idea," I replied, handing her the cash I'd set aside. Money I couldn't really spare now with the suspension. After she left, I scooped Lily up and carried her to the kitchen, trying to push down the rising panic. We had ramen for dinner again, but I added some frozen veggies to make it seem healthier. "Tell me about your day, Bug," I said, sitting her at the table. She chattered about preschool crafts and her friends, her laughter a brief escape from the mess. But as I washed the dishes later, staring at the eviction warning notice taped to the fridge, a reminder from last month's late rent, the frustration built even more. Alessandra's threats echoed in my head, her influence like a noose around my neck. My job was hanging by a thread, all because some rich mogul couldn't handle a minor mistake. I dried my hands and checked my email on my phone, hoping for something from Mr. Harlan, but nothing. Instead, I saw a notification from a gossip app. Alessandra had already posted a vague rant about poor service in luxury retail, tagging the store. Likes and comments poured in from her followers, calling for boycotts, and my heart sank further. I put Lily to bed, reading her a story about brave princesses fighting dragons, wishing I could be that strong. As she drifted off, I sat on the edge of her bed, my mind whirling. This wasn't just unfair, it was crushing. Years of scraping by, dealing with entitled customers who looked down on me because I didn't have their wealth or status, and now this. I woke up that morning with my cheeks still aching from the slap, a dull throb that matched the knot in my stomach as I stared at the ceiling of our small apartment. The bruise had darkened overnight, an ugly purple splotch that made me cringe when I glanced in the mirror while getting ready. Lily was still asleep in her room, her soft breathing the only sound breaking the quiet. And I tiptoed around, pouring myself a cup of coffee that tasted bitter on my tongue. I couldn't stop thinking about yesterday's mess at Lux Threads, how Alessandra Voss had humiliated me in front of everyone, treating me like I was nothing. My phone sat on the kitchen counter like a ticking bomb, and I kept checking it, waiting for Mr. Harlan's call that would decide if I still had a job to feed my 5-year-old daughter. When the phone finally rang, I snatched it up, my heart pounding as I saw his name. "Mr. Harlan, please tell me you've sorted this out," I said, keeping my voice low so I wouldn't wake Lily. "I need to know if I can come in today." He cleared his throat on the other end, sounding tense and evasive. "Brianna, I've reviewed the incident clip from the security camera. It shows the slap, but Ms. Voss is claiming you provoked her by damaging the dress. She's pushing hard, says it's assault on her property rights or something. Look, to keep the peace, I'm making it official. You're suspended without pay until further notice." "Ah!" Suspended without pay? The words hit me like a gut punch, my grip tightening on the phone as financial desperation surged through me. "Without pay? Mr. Harlan, I can't afford that. I've got bills stacking up, and Lily depends on me. This is injustice. She hit me, not the other way around. How can you side with her?" "I'm not siding with anyone," he replied, but his tone said otherwise, weak and apologetic. "She's a major client, Brianna. She called me last night, ranting about how you'd ruined her day and threatened to sue the store for emotional distress if we don't handle you properly. She even demanded a public apology from you, posted on our social media, admitting you were careless and out of line. A public apology to that woman? Humiliation burned in my chest, mixing with the emotional trauma of being treated like dirt. That's insane. I won't do it. She's the one who should apologize for assaulting me. Did you at least tell her that? He sighed heavily. I tried, but she's not listening. She's got power in this industry. You know that. If we push back, she could blacklist us and you from every high-end boutique in Manhattan. My mind raced, the loss of self-respect stinging as I imagined groveling online for something I didn't do. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I put Mr. Harlan on speaker and checked it. You pathetic clerk. Thinking you can stand up to me. You're trash, Brianna Klein. Look at you in your cheap uniform, reeking of desperation. I own this city's fashion scene, and I'll crush you like the bug you are. Apologize publicly or kiss your sad little career goodbye. Alessandra Voss. I read it aloud to Mr. Harlan, my voice shaking with rage. See? She's threatening me directly now. How did she even get my number? There was a pause. Then he admitted reluctantly. She insisted I give it to her to resolve things. Brianna, just consider the apology. It might make her back off. No, I snapped, feeling the injustice deepen like a knife twist. This is harassment. She's boasting about her wealth and power, calling me trash. How is that okay? As if on cue, another text came in. My empire is worth millions, and you're nothing but low-status scum who doesn't belong in my world. I slap people like you and get away with it because I can. Bow down and beg for mercy, or I'll make sure every store knows you're unreliable garbage. I felt tears prick my eyes, the mockery hitting my appearance and status like venom, eroding what little self-respect I had left. Mr. Harlan, she's mocking me, saying I'm low status and trash. This has to stop. He hesitated, then said, I'll talk to her again, but for now, the suspension stands. No pay, Brianna, store policy during investigations. And she's hinting at a lawsuit against you personally for defamation if you spread stories about the slap. A lawsuit against me? The financial desperation hit harder, knowing without pay, I'd be scraping by on nothing, dipping into the little savings I had for Lily's needs. This is wrong, all of it. You're letting her bully us because she's rich and connected. I'm sorry, Brianna, he muttered. Just lay low for a few days. Maybe it'll blow over. I hung up, my hands trembling as I blocked the number. But another message popped up from a different one. Blocking me? Cute. But I have endless resources. You're suspended, broke, and humiliated exactly where trash like you belongs. My wealth buys silence and yours buys nothing. Stay down. The arrogance in her words made my blood boil, her untouchable attitude screaming through every boast about her millions and influence. She thought she was above everything. A CEO who could slap a 28-year-old single mom and then mock her poverty without consequence. Emotional trauma washed over me, the strain intensifying as I realized my reputation was at risk too. She could spread lies and blacklist me, making it impossible to find another job in retail. I paced the kitchen, trying to steady my breathing, but the phone buzzed again with a notification from social media. Alessandra had posted on her Voss Couture account, dealing with incompetent trash at Lux Threads. Today, some low-rent clerk thought she could handle my designs. Big mistake. Suspended now, but she owes me an apology. Remember, in my world, the poor and ugly stay out. Power moves, fashion elite. Comments rolled in, her followers piling on. You tell her, Alessandra. Trash doesn't belong in luxury. She's probably jealous of your wealth. Serve her right. My name wasn't directly tagged, but it was clear who she meant. The public mockery amplifying the humiliation. I felt utterly exposed. My self-respect in tatters as strangers judged me based on her twisted story. The power imbalance was crushing. She sat in her penthouse boasting, while I worried about how to pay rent without income. Injustice fueled a fire in me, but fear held it back. Pushing now could make everything worse. Still, as I sat there staring at her post, a quiet anger simmered deeper than before. This wasn't just a bad day anymore, it was a deliberate attack. And if I didn't find a way to stand up soon, she'd destroy what little I had left. After hanging up on Mr. Harlan that morning, I sat at the kitchen table for what felt like hours, staring at my phone like it might ring again with some miracle fix. The bruise on my cheek throbbed under my fingers as I touched it gently, a constant reminder of Alessandra's slap and how everything had spiraled since then. Lily woke up soon after, her little feet padding into the room, rubbing her eyes and asking for breakfast in that sweet, innocent voice that always melted me. I forced a smile and got her some toast with the last bit of jam we had, but inside, the financial desperation clawed at me. Suspended without pay meant no money coming in, and our fridge was already looking bare. "Mommy, why is your face purple?" Lily asked, climbing into her chair and tilting her head as she munched on her toast. Her big eyes fixed on the bruise, full of that kid curiosity that hit me right in the heart. I hesitated, not wanting to scare her, but I couldn't lie completely. "Oh, sweetie, I had a little accident at work yesterday, bumped into something. It's nothing, it'll go away soon." I busied myself with pouring her milk, avoiding her gaze because the emotional trauma of it all, the humiliation from Alessandra's mockery, made me feel like a failure as a mom. She nodded, seeming to accept it, then asked, "Can we have pizza for dinner tonight, please, with extra cheese?" Her smile was so hopeful, but the question twisted the knife deeper, knowing our budget was shot now. "We'll see, Bug," I said, ruffling her hair. "Mommy's got to figure some things out first." I sat down across from her, watching her eat, my mind racing through the bills I knew were piling up. Rent was due in a few days, and without my paycheck, we'd be short again. As Lily finished her breakfast and went off to play with her toys in the living room, I pulled out my laptop, the old one that took forever to boot up, and checked my email, hoping maybe Mr. Harlan had sent something official or reconsidered. Nothing. Instead, I logged into social media, and that's when I saw how bad it had gotten. Alessandra's post from earlier had blown up, with hundreds of likes and shares, her followers echoing her contempt like a mob. "That clerk at Lux Threads is total trash, ruined my dress and played victim," one comment read. Another said, "Alessandra Voss doesn't mess around. Fire her already." My name was starting to pop up in the threads, people tagging me or searching my profile, tarnishing my reputation before I could even defend myself. I felt utterly cornered, my loss of self-respect hitting rock bottom as strangers judged me based on her lies. I grabbed my phone and dialed Mr. Harlan again, pleading one more time because I couldn't just sit there. "Mr. Harlan, please," I said when he picked up, my voice cracking. "This suspension without pay, it's killing me. Alessandra's post is everywhere now, and people are calling me names online. I need my job back. I'll do extra shifts, anything." He sounded exasperated, like I was the problem. "Brianna, I've told you it's out of my hands. Ms. Voss called again this morning, doubling down. She's threatening to blacklist you from every retail spot in the city if you don't post that. Apology. Says you're unreliable trash and she won't let it slide." "Blacklist me? For what? She hit me," I exclaimed, pacing the kitchen now, keeping my voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. The injustice burned hot, making my hands shake. "You saw the clip. How can you let her do this?" "She's got the influence, Brianna. Her word carries weight in fashion circles. If she tells other owners you're trouble, that's it. Just consider the apology. It might end this." His tone was final, like he'd already written me off to save the store. I hung up, tears blurring my vision as I sank into a chair. The oppression from Alessandra felt endless, her ongoing threats hanging over me like a dark cloud. How could one woman with money and power ruin my life so easily? I wiped my eyes and went to check. The mail slot by the door, maybe something good like a forgotten check, but instead, there was an eviction notice from the landlord. Bold red letters warning about late rent from last month carrying over. "Final notice, pay by end of week or vacate," it read. My stomach dropped, the financial strain intensifying everything. Lily came running in, holding up a drawing she'd made, a stick figure family with me and her smiling. "Look, Mommy, this is us having pizza," she said, beaming. I took the paper, forcing another smile, but inside I was breaking. "It's beautiful, sweetie. Mommy loves it." The humiliation from work mixed with this home desperation, making me feel trapped in every direction. "What about dinner? Can we get it now?" she asked, tugging at my shirt. I glanced at the clock. It was getting late afternoon, and I hadn't even thought about food yet. "Soon, okay? Let me see what we have." I opened the fridge, staring at the half-empty shelves. Some eggs, milk about to expire, a few veggies wilting in the drawer. No way to make a real meal without dipping into emergency cash I didn't have. Lily frowned, sensing something off. "Are we poor, Mommy? Like in the stories where they don't have food?" Her words stabbed me, the emotional trauma peaking as I knelt down to her level. "No, Bug, we're not poor. We're just careful with money. Mommy's working on it." But the lie tasted bitter, knowing Alessandra's actions had pushed us here. I sent Lily to watch cartoons and stepped into the bathroom, locking the door for a moment of privacy. Splashing water on my face, I looked in the mirror at the bruised cheek, the tired eyes of a single mom who'd fought so hard to keep it together after my ex left us. Years of long hours at Lux Threads, dealing with entitled customers, skipping my own meals to buy Lily's school supplies, and now this. Alessandra's complaint spreading online like wildfire, her threats to blacklist me echoing in my head. If I couldn't work retail anymore, what then? Fast food, cleaning jobs, anything to avoid losing our cramped Queens apartment. My phone buzzed again, an email from a job site I'd applied to months ago, but when I opened it, it was a rejection. Probably coincidence, but it felt like the universe piling on. Then another text from a blocked number, no doubt Alessandra. Enjoy your poverty, trash. My blacklist starts today. I deleted it, but the damage was done. My reputation in shreds, no income, eviction looming, and Lily's innocent questions about dinner reminding me how cornered I was. As evening fell, I scraped together eggs and toast for us, sitting at the table with Lily chattering about her day. "This is yummy, Mommy," she said, but I could tell she missed the treats we used to have. "Thanks, sweetie," I replied, eating slowly to make it last. The desperation urged me to do something, anything to escape this downward spiral. But for now, I was stuck, oppressed by a mogul who thought she could play God with my life. That night, after tucking Lily into bed with her favorite stuffed bear, I collapsed onto the couch in our cramped Queens apartment. My body exhausted from the day's endless worry, but my mind refusing to shut off. The eviction notice glared at me from the kitchen counter, a stark reminder of the financial desperation that had me counting every penny, wondering how I'd buy groceries without my paycheck from Lux Threads. My cheek still ached from Alessandra's slap, the bruise a visible mark of the humiliation she'd inflicted, making me feel like I'd lost all self-respect in front of customers and my boss. I stared at the ceiling, the emotional trauma weighing on me like a heavy blanket, replaying her mocking texts about me being trash and her threats to blacklist me from every retail job in the city. Injustice burned inside me. How could someone like her, with her millions and power, destroy my life over a minor slip while I struggled just to keep a roof over my 5-year-old's head? I grabbed my phone off the side table, the screen's glow harsh in the dim room, and opened the employee app for Lux Threads. Mr. Harlan had given us access to basic security feeds for checking shifts or incidents, and even though I was suspended, my login still worked, probably an oversight in their system. My fingers shook as I navigated to the footage archive from yesterday afternoon, the timestamp pulling up the boutique's main camera view with its polished counters and racks of designer clothes that I'd never afford. There I was on the video looking worn out in my uniform, carefully handling that Voss couture dress when Alessandra stormed up, her face twisted in entitlement. I watched her snap at me, then the slap landed hard, the impact making me stagger back as customers gasped. Tears welled up again as I paused it, the sting of that moment hitting fresh, the public humiliation, the way she'd stripped away my dignity like it was nothing, all while boasting about her untouchable status. I let the video play on, wiping my eyes with the back of my hand, not sure what I was looking for, but driven by a growing fury that this couldn't be the end. After I retreated to the back room on the footage, Alessandra stayed at the counter, arguing with Mr. Harlan, her voice muffled but sharp through the app's audio. She pulled out her phone, glancing around as if to make sure no one was too close, and started typing quickly, her expression tense and secretive. The camera angle caught a brief flash of her screen as she tilted it slightly. Words like offshore transfer confirmed popped up in what looked like a banking app notification, followed by a quick text bubble with Carl audit covered. She muttered something under her breath, the audio picking up fragments. "Tell Carl the funds are secure. No trace before the audit." Then she pocketed the phone abruptly, smoothing her hair like nothing happened, and continued berating Mr. Harlan about firing me. My heart raced as I rewound and paused on that frame. Zooming in as much as the grainy video allowed, the words offshore and transfer were clear enough. An audit tied in with her whispered name drop of Carl. This wasn't just random. It screamed something shady, like she was hiding money or dodging company checks at Voss Couture. The pieces clicked in my mind. Her arrogance, her need to control everything. It all fit if she had a hidden scandal brewing. I felt a surge of adrenaline, the injustice flipping into something sharper, more focused. No more cowering, the emotional trauma she'd caused, the way she'd eroded my self-respect with her contempt for people like me. It all fueled a decision deep inside. I was done being a victim, done letting her financial desperation push me under while she lived like a queen. If this was embezzlement or fraud, it could be the key to turning everything around. I set the phone down for a second, my breathing steadying as I grabbed a notepad from the kitchen drawer, the same one I used for grocery lists and Lily's daycare notes. I jotted down every detail. Alessandra's phone, offshore transfer confirmed, mentioned Carl and audit. My hand was steady now, the act of writing it out making it real, transforming my fear into resolve. I hit save on the footage clip through the app, emailing a copy to myself and even screenshotting the keyframes just in case they revoked my access tomorrow. This was my first piece of leverage, but I knew it wasn't enough on its own. The video was blurry, the audio faint, so I needed to dig deeper. I thought about Jenna's advice from earlier calls. She worked in admin and might know about corporate filings. But first, I opened my laptop quietly, typing Voss Couture audit rumors into the search bar. A few hits came up, nothing explosive, but a business forum post from an anonymous ex-employee heard whispers about financial irregularities at Voss involving offshore accounts and a guy named Carl on the board. Audit coming soon? That was it. The first concrete lead, linking the name Carl to potential fraud. I bookmarked the post and noted the username, planning to message them anonymously tomorrow. Imagining Alessandra right now, probably lounging in her Manhattan penthouse, smug and confident that she'd crushed me without a trace, only made my blood boil more. She thought her wealth made her invincible, that she could slap down anyone beneath her and hide her dirty secrets forever. But not this time. I had a spark now, and I was going to fan it into a fire that exposed her for good. I woke up early the next morning, my eyes gritty from staring at that footage half the night. The words offshore transfer and audit burned into my brain like a promise of payback. Lily was still asleep in her room, her soft snores filtering through the thin walls of our queen's apartment, and I tiptoed to the kitchen to make coffee, my mind already racing on how to turn this glimpse into real leverage against Alessandra. The financial desperation hit me again as I glanced at the eviction notice on the counter, but now it mixed with a spark of hope. I had something on her, and if I could gather more details secretly, maybe I could shift the balance and get my life back. I sat at the table with my laptop open, sipping the hot coffee that burned my tongue a little, and pulled up the forum post I'd found last night, the one from the anonymous ex-employee hinting at financial irregularities at Voss Couture. The username was Exact123, and I created a throwaway account to message them. Saw your post about Voss. Dealing with similar issues, heard about Carl and audits. Any details? I hit send, my heart pounding as I waited, knowing this could be risky but necessary to piece together what Alessandra was hiding. While I waited for a reply, I texted Sarah, my coworker from Lux Threads who'd always had my back during tough shifts. Hey, need to talk. Can you meet for coffee? It's about Alessandra and some shady stuff I saw. She responded almost immediately. Sure, Brianna, that slap was awful, Mr. Harlan's still kissing her feet. Meet at the diner near the store in an hour? I got Lily ready quickly, dropping her off at Mrs. Gomez's next door with a quick hug and a promise to be back soon. Be good, sweetie, I said, kissing her forehead. Mommy's got some work stuff to handle. At the diner, Sarah was already there, stirring sugar into her coffee, her uniform from the store peeking out under her coat like she was heading to a shift. Brianna, you look exhausted, she said as I slid into the booth across from her. What's going on? That bruise on your cheek, it's from her, right? Yeah, I replied, lowering my voice as the waitress poured me a cup. She slapped me over nothing, got me suspended without pay. But I reviewed the security footage on the app, caught her muttering about an audit, and Carl, something about offshore transfers. Looks like embezzlement from her own company. Sarah's eyes widened, setting her spoon down with a clink. Whoa, that's huge. I've heard rumors. A few months ago, I covered a shift when Alessandra came in late at night. Said she needed privacy for a call. I overheard her on the phone in the back, arguing with someone named Carl about hiding the funds before the board finds out. Thought it was just business stress, but now... Carl, that's the name from the footage, I said, leaning forward, excitement building despite the knot of fear in my stomach. Do you know any former employees? Anyone who might have more on this? Sarah nodded, pulling out her phone. Yeah, there's Mia. She used to be Alessandra's assistant at Voss Couture before getting fired last year. Said it was for asking too many questions. I still have her number. Let me text her that a friend wants to chat anonymously. Thanks, Sarah, I said, feeling the shift start, like the power was tilting just a bit in my favor. This could be the leverage I need to fight back. While we waited for Mia's response, my phone buzzed with a notification from the forum. Exact 123 had replied, "Careful. Walls have ears at Voss. Carl's a board member. Handles finances. Saw emails about siphoning money to personal accounts offshore in Cayman. Quit before the audit hit. Got copies if you're serious, but need proof you're not a plant." I showed Sarah the message, my pulse quickening. This is it. Emails hinting at embezzlement. If I can get those, plus what you overheard. Just then, Sarah's phone dinged. Mia's free this afternoon. Says she'll meet you at the park near her place. Bring coffee. She's cautious. I nodded, standing up to pay the bill with the last cash in my wallet. Perfect. Let's keep this quiet, no telling Mr. Harlan or anyone. Deal, Sarah said, hugging me quick. You've got this, Brianna. Alessandra thinks she's untouchable, but if this is real, it'll blow up. I headed to the park that afternoon. After picking up Lily and dropping her with Jenna for a couple hours, my sister didn't ask too many questions when I said it was about work trouble. Mia was waiting on a bench, a young woman in her mid-20s with nervous eyes scanning the area, clutching a takeaway cup like a shield. You're Brianna? She asked as I sat down, handing her the coffee I'd promised. Yeah, thanks for meeting, I replied, keeping my tone calm. Sarah said you worked for Alessandra. Heard you got fired for asking questions. Mia took a sip, glancing around again. Fired, more like pushed out. I was her assistant, handled emails and schedules. One day, I accidentally opened a confidential folder on her laptop, saw wire transfer receipts to offshore accounts labeled as consulting fees, but way over budget, and memos to Carl about fudging the audit reports. When I asked about it, she flipped, accused me of snooping, and canned me with no severance. My breath caught. This was direct, hinting at the embezzlement right from Voss Couture's books. Did you keep any copies, or see her do anything illegal? Mia hesitated, then pulled out her phone. I snapped photos of a few emails before I left. Here, look. One's from her to Carl. Confirm the transfer to Cayman. Cover it as marketing expense before audit. And I witnessed her handing a USB to some shady guy in a cafe once. Said it was backup financials. Felt off, like she was hiding dealings. I scrolled through the photos she showed me, my hands steady now as I forwarded them to my email discreetly. This is gold, Mia. She's been oppressing me, slapped me at work, got me suspended. If I can use this... Be careful, Mia warned, pocketing her phone. She's ruthless, sued an ex-employee once for defamation. But yeah, if you expose it, she'll crumble. I thanked her and headed home, the evidence piling up in my mind. The footage glimpse. Sarah's overheard call, Mia's emails, and that witness account of the USB handoff. The shift empowered me, building suspense as I pieced together real leverage, enough to make Alessandra sweat if I played it right. For the first time, I felt like I could win this. The next morning, after meeting with Sarah and getting those details from Mia, I sat at my kitchen table in our Queens apartment, staring at the laptop screen where I'd compiled everything, the blurry footage from the boutique showing Alessandra's phone notification with offshores, transfer confirmed, and her muttered words about Carl and the audit, Sarah's notes on the overheard phone call about hiding funds before the board found out, and Mia's photos of those email snippets mentioning Cayman accounts and fudging audit reports. Lily was in the living room watching cartoons, her laughter a small bright spot in the mess of my financial desperation, with the eviction notice still mocking me from the fridge and no paycheck coming in because of Alessandra's slap and her threats to blacklist me. The humiliation from her calling me trash in front of everyone at Lux Threads burned deep, eroding my self-respect every time I thought about it. But now, with this evidence, I felt a shift. I wasn't going to let her win without a fight, even if it started small and secret. I picked up my phone and texted Sarah, my fingers steady despite the knot in my stomach. Hey, I think it's time for a first move. Can we leak a teaser anonymously? Just a blurred clip from the footage and a note with keywords. Like offshore, audit, Carl. Nothing that points back to us. Sarah replied almost immediately. Absolutely, Brianna. I've got a contact, a journalist at Fashion Buzz who covers industry scandals. Her name's Tara, and she has an anonymous tip line through encrypted email. Send me the edited clip and I'll handle the drop. We'll blur it heavy, add a still frame of the notification, and a note saying, Voss Couture CEO whispering about shady finances in a boutique, offshore transfers, audit cover-ups with board member Carl. That should stir things without naming names outright. I nodded to myself, feeling a rush of empowerment mixed with the lingering emotional trauma of being treated like dirt by someone who thought her wealth made her invincible. Thanks, Sarah. Make sure it's untraceable. Use a burner email or whatever. I don't want her suspecting it's from the store. Got it, she texted back, sending now. This is for what she did to you. That slap was wrong, and her threats are bullying. We'll watch for reactions together. I edited the footage quickly on my phone, blurring Alessandra's face and the boutique details, keeping just the key audio snippets and that partial screen glimpse, then emailed it to Sarah. My heart pounded as I hit send, knowing this was my secret counterattack. The first real blow after days of injustice piling up. I imagined Alessandra going about her day, smug in her CEO office at Voss Couture, believing she'd crushed me without consequence. But soon, those ripples would hit her circle and make her question everything. While I waited, I made lunch for Lily, peanut butter sandwiches with the last of the bread, stretching our groceries thin because of the suspension without pay. Mommy, can we play outside later? Lily asked, her eyes hopeful as she munched. Sure, sweetie. After I check something important, I said, hugging her close. The financial desperation hitting me again, but fueling my resolve to turn this around for us. My phone buzzed around noon. Sarah again. Tip sent. Tara said it's intriguing. She'll post a blind item teaser this afternoon to test the waters. No direct accusations, just speculation to get fashion insiders talking. Good, I replied. Keep me updated on any buzz. I refreshed Fashion Buzz's site every few minutes while Lily napped. My anxiety building, but mixed with a thrill I hadn't felt in weeks. Around 2, the post went up. A short article headlined, Mystery Murmurs in Manhattan Boutique, High Fashion Exec Hints at Financial Shadows? It described an anonymous video tip showing a blurred figure in a luxury store, whispering about offshore transfers and an audit involving a board member named Carl, with a still frame of the partial notification visible but no clear identities. The piece speculated it could tie to a major fashion house facing internal whispers, without naming Voss Couture directly, but the comments section lit up fast. This screams Alessandra Voss. Her company's audit season is coming, one user wrote. Carl? As in board treasurer Carl? Shady if true, another added. I felt a surge of satisfaction, the injustice from her public mockery starting to ease as I watched the initial ripples spread. Shares climbed to a couple hundred within the hour, with fashion influencers reposting and tagging similar rumors. Jenna texted me out of the blue. Bree, saw a weird blind item on Fashion Buzz. Sounds like you're Mogul. Any connection? Can't say, I texted back vaguely, but inside I smiled. The counterattack was working. Hidden and safe. By evening, as I cooked a simple pasta dinner for Lily, Sarah called me. Her voice hushed like she was still at the store. Brianna, it's starting. I overheard a customer, an influencer who shops with Alessandra, saying her team canceled a collab meeting last minute, citing PR issues. And check her socials. She just posted a vague story. Rumors are for the weak. Real power speaks for itself. But it feels defensive, like she's trying to brush it off. I pulled up Alessandra's profile on my phone, seeing the post with its glossy photo of her at a gala, but the comments were mixed. Some supportive. Others probing with, what's the tea on that boutique whisper? An audit drama? It wasn't a full storm, but those ripples in her circle had to be making her sweat privately. I pictured her alone in her penthouse, scrolling through the comments with a glass of wine in hand, her usual arrogance cracking as she wondered who leaked that snippet. Maybe calling Carl in a low voice. Did you see the post? It's too close to our transfers. We need to lock this down before it spreads. You're right, I told Sarah. She's panicking behind the scenes, but she doesn't know it's me. This creates just enough doubt in her world. Maybe her board starts asking questions quietly. Exactly, Sarah said. A friend in PR messaged me, said Voss Couture's team is monitoring mentions more than usual today. No big fallout yet, but it's stirring. What's next? I glanced at Lily, who was drawing at the table, her innocence reminding me why I had to keep going despite the emotional trauma Alessandra had inflicted. We build on it, I replied. I'll compile partial evidence for a more public reveal soon. A social post that questions her integrity without going all in yet. This teaser's got her on edge. Now we push a little harder. We hung up, and I sat there watching the online chatter grow, the intrigue layering on as I stayed hidden in the shadows. The first counterblow had landed, satisfying that deep need for justice after her humiliation of me, and it left me excited for my next moves, ready to unravel her facade one step at a time. I woke up the morning after that teaser went live on Fashion Buzz, my eyes opening to the faint light filtering through the thin curtains in our Queens apartment. And the first thing I did was grab my phone from the nightstand, my heart already racing with a mix of hope and anxiety. Lily was still asleep in her room, her little chest rising and falling peacefully. But the eviction notice on the kitchen counter stared back at me like a constant reminder of the financial desperation Alessandra had shoved me into with her slap and those blacklist threats, leaving me suspended without pay and scraping by on nothing. The emotional trauma from her humiliation in the boutique lingered. That moment when she'd called me trash and mocked my appearance in front of everyone, chipping away at my self-respect. But seeing the blind items comments explode overnight, people speculating about Vos Couture's shady finances, gave me a spark of empowerment I hadn't felt in days, pushing me to take the next step and go public with something more pointed, even if it was still partial. I sat up in bed, scrolling through the reactions while the coffee brewed, the injustice of it all fueling me as I saw fashion insiders sharing the post and demanding more details. This has to be Alessandra Vos. Her audit whispers match old rumors, one comment read, and another said, if there's offshore stuff, her integrity's toast. It was satisfying, but not enough. I needed to question her publicly, to start unraveling that untouchable facade she'd built on her wealth and contempt for people like me. I texted Sarah right away, my fingers flying over the screen, the teasers buzzing, time to push harder, thinking a throwaway account post with a redacted screenshot from Mia's emails, tying it to the blind item and reports of a boutique altercation. Questions her integrity without full accusations. Sarah messaged back quickly. Yes, Brianna, do it. Blur the screenshot heavy, redact names, keep it to keywords like offshore transfer and audit. I'll share from an anon account too. This could go viral in our circles, make her sweat more. Agreed, I replied, wording it carefully, no direct claims, just questions. Like, is this CEO hiding secrets amid reports of a staff altercation? That way, it builds on the buzz without risking too much. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table, creating a fresh throwaway social media account, linking it to no personal details to keep myself hidden. My hands trembled a bit from the nerves, but the loss of self-respect she'd caused drove me forward. I couldn't let her walk away from slapping me and ruining my reputation without facing some heat. I selected one of Mia's email photos, a snippet showing phrases like offshore transfer to Cayman and cover before audit. But I blurred out sender info, dates, and any full names, leaving just the damning keywords visible. Then I drafted the post, following up on recent whispers. Does this redacted email hint at financial irregularities at a top fashion house? Ties to a board, member Carl and audit concerns, plus reports of a boutique altercation with staff, questioning the integrity behind the glamour. I attached the blurred screenshot and hit publish, my breath catching as it went live, knowing this partial reveal could start pulling at the threads of her perfect image. Lily wandered out of her room then, rubbing her eyes and asking for breakfast in her sweet voice. Mommy, can we have pancakes today? I forced a smile, pulling her into a hug to hide the tension in my face. Soon, sweetie, let's do cereal for now, okay? Mommy's checking something quick. The financial strain hit me again as I poured her a bowl, remembering how Alessandra's actions had left us stretching every dollar. But posting that felt like fighting back, reclaiming some power after the injustice of her entitlement. By mid-morning, while Lily played with her toys on the living room floor, notifications started pinging on my phone. The post was gaining traction. First a few dozen likes from fashion accounts, then hundreds as insiders shared it. This screenshot looks legit. Vos Couture vibes all over it, one comment said. Another added, altercation with staff? Sounds like that slap rumor I heard. Her integrity's in question now. Skeptics chimed in too. Need more proof, but if true, big trouble. It spread through fashion forums and influencer stories, viral in those niche circles where people knew the players, racking up thousands of views by lunchtime. Jenna called me, her voice hushed and excited. Brianna, I saw an anon post blowing up blurred email, audit stuff. Is that you? It's everywhere in my feed. Yeah, it's mine, I whispered, stepping into the hallway so Lily wouldn't hear. Partial evidence only, redacted to stay safe. Reactions are pouring in. People are questioning everything about her. Smart, Jenna said. I saw some bloggers demanding answers, but be careful. She'll respond soon. I know, I replied. That's the point, force her defensive. This is the first real taste of justice after what she did to me. We hung up and I kept refreshing, the tension building as the post hit 5,000 views. With threads debating, is Alessandra Voss covering up financial messes? One user linked it back to the Fashion Buzz teaser. This matches the Whisper post. Offshore and audit? Her facade's cracking. Sarah texted me updates. Brianna, my contact at another boutique, says influencers are hesitating on Voss collabs now. And Tara from Fashion Buzz messaged me, the tips sparking more anon submissions about her. Around 3, as I took Lily for a short walk to the corner store for milk, our budget too tight for extras, Alessandra's response finally dropped, popping up in my notifications as I pushed the stroller. It was a polished story on her personal account, a glamorous photo of her at a runway show with overlaid text. In a world of whispers, truth shines brightest. Integrity isn't questioned, it's proven. Focusing on creating, not rumors. But the comments under it were a mix. Loyal fans defending her with queen stays, unbothered, while others probed, address the email screenshot, offshore transfers sound shady, and boutique altercation, staff deserve better. I stopped on the sidewalk staring at my phone, a wave of satisfaction washing over me despite the lingering humiliation from her slap. She's defensive, I muttered to myself, imagining her in her high-rise office. Scrolling through the backlash with a tight jaw, her usual contempt turning to worry as she texted her PR team, "Kill this narrative. Vague posts only, no admissions." It felt like the first real crack in her armor, her facade starting to unravel under the weight of public questions. Back home, Sarah called again, her tone buzzing. Brianna, behind-the-scenes chatter, her teams monitoring every mention, canceling promo calls. One staffer whispered to me, they're in damage control mode. Your post's forcing her to respond, but she's playing it cool publicly. This is it, I said, watching Lily color at the table. First taste of justice. People are seeing through her. But I need to compile everything soon for the full push. Absolutely, Sarah agreed. The reactions are building. Keep the momentum. As the sun set, I tucked Lily into bed, reading her a quick story while my mind raced with the day's winds, the tension coiling tighter. The post was still gaining steam, satisfying that deep ache from the injustice she'd inflicted. But I knew this partial exposure was just the setup. I had more evidence waiting, and soon I'd reveal it all to bring her down for good. The buzz from my social media post kept building through the night, my phone lighting up with notifications even as I tried to sleep. The comments and shares climbing into the tens of thousands by morning. Fashion bloggers and insiders demanding answers about Alessandra's integrity and those offshore. Whispers. Lily woke me up early, tugging at my blanket with her small hands, asking for breakfast in that innocent way that made my heart ache, reminding me of the financial desperation we'd been in since her slap got me suspended without pay. But now, with all the partial evidence I'd gathered, the boutique footage with its muffled audio about audits and Carl, Mia's redacted email photos showing Cayman transfers, Sarah's notes on the overheard call about hiding funds. I felt ready to compile everything and go all in, to present it to the authorities and expose her fully in a press confrontation that would set up her downfall. I sat up, hugging Lily close, and whispered, "Today, Mommy's going to fix things, sweetie. We're getting justice." I got Lily dressed and fed her oatmeal from our dwindling supplies, my mind racing as I texted Sarah first thing. "It's time for the full reveal," I wrote. "Compiling all evidence now, footage, emails, witness statements. Need to add anything else? Then straight to authorities and a press tip." Sarah replied fast. "Brianna, yes, I've got a recording from that overheard call on my phone, just snippets, but it ties in. And Mia sent me one more photo last night, a wire receipt with Alessandra's signature on a fake expense. Send it all to a lawyer first? I know a pro bono one through a friend." "Good idea," I texted back, standing in the kitchen now, pulling up my laptop to organize the files. I'll compile it into a folder, footage showing her muttering about the transfer and audit, your recording, Mia's emails and receipts. But wait, reviewing the footage again last night, I spotted something new in the background. After the slap, when she thought no one was watching, she texted someone. And the camera caught a reflection. Meet tonight, usual hotel. Can't wait, love. Then a reply bubble. Our secret's safe, darling. Away from my wife. It's blurry, but the number traces to a married board member, not Carl. Wait, it is Carl. From Jenna's earlier search on his profile. This reveals her scandalous affair on top of the financial fraud, embezzling with her lover to cover personal expenses. Sarah's response came with a shocked emoji. Whoa, affair too. That's explosive. Compile it all. I'll meet you at the police station in an hour with my stuff. We tip a journalist after, set up a press confrontation. Okay, see you there, I replied. My hands shaking as I saved screenshots of the footage's affair hint. The emails with redacted but clear fraud language like fudge the audit and offshore to Cayman. Sarah's audio file she'd emailed me overnight. And even a message from Exact 1 on 23, who'd finally sent a full email copy after I proved my anon. Status with a teaser link. Here's the chain, Alessandra approving fake invoices to siphon funds. I zipped it all into a folder on a USB drive, feeling the weight of truth in my palm. The humiliation from her slap turning into a fierce determination to watch her resistance crumble. I dropped Lily at Mrs. Gomez's with a quick explanation, work emergency back soon, and headed to the subway. The USB burning in my pocket like leverage I'd never had before. At the police station in Manhattan, Sarah was waiting outside, her face pale but resolved, handing me her phone to transfer the recording. Here, it's her voice clear as day saying, "Hide the funds before the board, Carl. Our transfers can't show." We went inside together asking for the fraud division, and I sat down with a detective named Ramirez, a no-nonsense guy in his 40s who listened as I laid it out. This is Alessandra Voss, CEO of Voss Couture. She assaulted me at Lux Threads, got me suspended, but that's just the start. Here's evidence of embezzlement, footage from the store camera showing her discussing offshore. Transfers and audits, emails from a former assistant with wire receipts to Cayman accounts, a witness recording of her on a call about hiding funds, and an ex-accountant's email chain proving fake invoices. Plus, the footage hints at an affair with board member Carl, could be motive for the fraud, siphoning money for their secret life. Detective Ramirez leaned forward, plugging in the USB and scanning the files, his eyes narrowing at the footage's reflection of the affair texts and the email keywords. This looks solid. Assault, possible embezzlement, corporate fraud. We'll investigate, but with her status, she'll lawyer up fast. You got backups? Everything, I said, nodding to Sarah. And we're tipping the press, want her exposed publicly so she can't bury it. He nodded grimly. Be careful, she's powerful. We'll take statements now. We gave our accounts, Sarah corroborating the overheard call and slap, me detailing the threats and online smears. The whole process taking an hour that felt like forever, my pulse thumping with the setup for the climax. As we left, Sarah pulled me aside. Press confrontation, let's tip Tara at Fashion Buzz. She owes me after the teaser. Yeah, I agreed, dialing Tara from Sarah's phone to keep it anon. This is the source from the blind item. Got full evidence on Alessandra Voss. Embezzlement with board lover Carl, affair texts in footage, fake invoices, authorities involved. Meet us outside Voss Couture HQ in 2 hours for a statement. Tara's voice was eager. On it, bringing a camera crew. This could blow up. We headed to the HQ, a sleek glass building in Midtown. My nerves electric as reporters started gathering from Tara's tip. A small crowd forming with phones out. Alessandra must have gotten wind because she stormed out the doors with her lawyer. A sharp-suited woman beside her, her face flushed under the makeup, eyes darting at the cameras. What's this nonsense? Alessandra snapped, spotting me in the crowd as I stepped forward, her voice dripping contempt like always. You again, the trash clerk, spreading lies to ruin me? I held up my phone, playing the footage loud for the mics, the slap first, then her mutters about transfers. The affair text reflection clear enough in zoomed view. Not lies, Alessandra. Evidence. Your embezzlement with Carl, siphoning Voss funds to offshore accounts, fake invoices to cover your affair. Authorities have it all. Emails, recordings, witnesses. You assaulted me, threatened me, but now it's exposed. She lunged forward, her lawyer grabbing her arm, but she hissed at me. You little nobody, I'll sue you into the ground. How much to make this go away? Name your price. 10,000? 20? Or should I threaten your job forever? Your kid's future? The cameras caught it all, gasps from the crowd as I stood firm. No bribes, no threats. This is the truth crumbling your empire. Your resistance ends here. Alessandra turned to her lawyer, desperate whispers flying. Shut this down. Pay off who we need. But the press swarmed, questions flying. Ms. Voss, comment on the affair. The fraud? Her face paled. The weight of truth hitting as her denials faltered, setting up the final fall. After that press confrontation outside Voss Couture HQ, where I'd exposed everything, the footage of Alessandra's slap and her whispered fraud talks, the affair texts with Carl, the emails proving embezzlement through fake invoices and offshore transfers to Cayman, Sarah's recording of her hiding funds, I stepped back into the crowd, my heart pounding as reporters swarmed her, their questions hitting like bullets she couldn't dodge. Alessandra stood there, her lawyer whispering urgently in her ear, but her face had gone pale under the heavy makeup, her eyes darting around like a trapped animal, and she snapped at the nearest mic, "This is all fabricated lies from a disgruntled employee. I'll sue everyone involved." But the damage was done. The cameras had caught her desperate bribe offer to me, her threats about my family, and the crowd murmured in shock, phones recording every second as her empire started crumbling right there on the sidewalk. I watched from a few feet away, Sarah by my side squeezing my hand, her voice low. "Brianna, you did it. She's finished. Look at her. She's unraveling." "Yeah," I replied, my voice steady despite the rush of emotions flooding me, the humiliation from her slap finally lifting, replaced by a fierce satisfaction as justice took hold. After all her mockery, calling me trash, threatening to blacklist me forever, this is what she gets, no more hiding behind her wealth. Alessandra turned to her lawyer again, her tone frantic now. "Get me out of here, call the board, spin this as a setup. And that clerk? Ruin her, dig up dirt, anything." But her PR flack shook his head, pulling her toward a waiting car. "Ms. Voss, we need to issue a statement. Denials won't hold with this evidence out." The reporters followed, shouting, "Ms. Voss, will you step down? What about the assault charges?" She shoved past them, her diamond rings flashing under the sun, but one tripped her slightly and she stumbled, her perfect poise shattering as she yelled back, "You'll all pay for this. My lawyers will bury you." I felt a wave of relief wash over me, the emotional trauma from her contempt starting to heal as I realized she'd lost control. Her resistance futile now that the authorities had the full folder USB copies handed over. Backups with Detective Ellis, who promised swift action. Sarah pulled me away from the chaos. "Come on, Brianna, let's get you home. The police said charges are coming. Assault on you, embezzlement from her company, fraud with Carl." By evening, as I picked up Lily from Mrs. Gomez's and carried her back to our apartment, the news was everywhere. Headlines blasting, "Fashion mogul Alessandra Voss faces assault and embezzlement charges." With clips of the confrontation going viral, my face blurred in some, but my story clear. The single mom clerk who'd stood up to her bully. Lily looked up at me with her big eyes. "Mommy, are you on TV? Mrs. Gomez said you were brave." I smiled, setting her down in the kitchen and starting dinner, real pasta with sauce this time, splurging a little now that hope was back. "Yeah, sweetie, Mommy fought a mean lady, and we won. No more worries about money soon." My phone rang. It was Mr. Harlan from Lux Threads, his voice apologetic and shaky. "Brianna, I saw the news. I'm so sorry I sided with her to save the store, but now, come back tomorrow, full pay reinstated plus back wages. And a raise, you deserve it after what she put you through." "Thanks, Mr. Harlan," I said, hanging up with a grin, the injustice finally righting itself as I texted Jenna. "It's over, charges filed, job back. Alessandra's done." Jenna called right away, her voice bursting with pride. "Bri, I can't believe it. The board at Voss Couture just announced an emergency meeting. Rumors say they're ousting her. And Carl's implicated too. Affair and fraud, he's resigning to avoid scandal." "Good," I replied, stirring the pasta as Lily set the table. She thought she could slap me down and walk away, but justice caught up. Over the next few days, it all unfolded like a storm I couldn't stop watching. Alessandra arrested for assault after the footage went public. Then embezzlement charges piling on as the DA reviewed the emails and recordings. Her bail hearing a media circus where she showed up in a plain suit. No diamonds. Her lawyer begging for leniency, but the judge denying it. Citing flight risk with her offshore accounts. "Ms. Voss, you'll remain in custody pending trial," the judge said. And she glared at me from across the courtroom where I'd testified, her eyes full of hate but powerless now. Carl cracked under pressure, turning state's witness to save himself, admitting the affair and how they'd siphoned millions for luxury trips and hidden assets, the board firing them both as Vos Couture stock plummeted, headlines screaming, "Empire falls, Mogul jailed for fraud and assault." Alessandra's desperate pleas in court fell flat. It was a misunderstanding. I was stressed. But the evidence buried her, the jury convicting her after a short trial, sentencing her to 5 years in prison and millions in restitution to her company. I won a civil settlement from her, enough to pay off debts, move to a better apartment, and start a small savings for Lily's future, the check arriving with a court order as she lost her penthouse and assets in the fallout. "Brianna, this is huge," Sarah said over coffee at the store where I'd been promoted to manager, the customers now whispering about how I'd taken down the Mogul. "You healed from all that trauma. She can't hurt anyone anymore." "Yeah," I agreed, watching Lily play nearby after picking her up from daycare. Her laughter filling the air. I feel empowered now, whole again. No more skipping meals or fearing eviction. We're rebuilding, stronger. As Alessandra sat in her cell, her empire gone, facing years behind bars while headlines faded, I walked home with Lily's hand in mine, the sun setting warm on our faces, knowing justice had triumphed, leaving me with closure and a life finally free from her shadow. Now let me ask you honestly, if you were threatened, slandered, or forced to accept money to lie, would you have the courage to say no? Tell me about a time in your life when you were forced to remain silent to avoid trouble. If this story reminds you that your voice also has value, please like to support those who dare to speak up. Share, so that one more person doesn't have to bow their head, and subscribe, because this world needs more people like... On screen right now, you'll see 2 new stories I think you'll really enjoy. There are many more waiting for you on the channel, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss one. See you in the next story. Until then, take care of yourself and the people you love. With all my love and respect,